What's up? What's up? What's up? Peace, light, and love, everybody. You have just connected with the Sirius CYPHER yet again. And what a time indeed it is. So on deck, we got the family showing up again. We got Aquarius Moon and we got the Quantum Lion. Let's check in. How's everybody? Who wants to go? Who's up first with the check-in?
Well, roar. That's all I got to say.
I like that. Yeah. I like that. So I'm doing well myself.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm doing great, Shakesha. Actually I tripped out because I kind of like was in a whole different zone where I hadn't looked at my phone all day, and then I was meditating, and then I kind of like I was channeling a lot of like a lot of stuff that I was just starting to get into, and so it's not completely clear to me, but a lot of the stuff was coming in, and I went outside, and my wife said, "Oh, dinner's ready." So I looked at my phone and I was like, "Oh shit, the cipher, the cipher's right now. It's coming up." And low key, like I didn't even know if I should hop on because of, sometimes you're like, people need space to do their own thing, and then you could come back in. But for some reason, I was like, no, I gotta be there tonight. I want to listen in on this tower thing, because like I told you, I was like, I don't know if you realized it, but on our last podcast, you said, I feel like a collective tower moment coming. And then at the end of the show, you pulled the card, and it ended up being that tower card. And when I spoke to Anthony, he said he had pulled that same card that morning. So it's definitely that energy coming in. So I'm here for it. I don't really, like I told you, I'm not like very fluent when it comes to tarot, but I'm very fluent with spirit. So whenever people start talking about it, then I'm like, oh, okay, I know what that is. So I'm here. I'm present.
All right. Let's get it. Hey, Aquarius Moon, how's it going? You got to check in?
Yes, ma'am. So it was quite interesting to hear Quantum Lion say, that all the downloads he was getting and how everything's not quite clear. But that's how I'm feeling as well. It's like I've had a few dreams that I'm sitting back meditating on, I need to interpret, and just different revelations have been coming to me like this whole past week. And some stuff that I just need to sit back and meditate on and figure out where it fits in my life and in the world in general. But that tower moment. But the thing about it is, I'm excited about this tower moment.
Me too.
The thing is, when you break it all the way down, you get to build it up and create something new. You know what I mean? So that's my excitement. That's how I'm feeling about it right now.
Like my whole body literally has chills right now, and it's not going away. Like it's so. I know spirit is present right now, and it's been moving a lot. Like I said, when I was in meditation, before I started meditation, my spirit told me to grab the Dictionary of Deities book. And when it does that, it's literally giving me the energy that it wants me to work with in this moment. And I kid you not, before I'm reaching for the book, I'm thinking of Orion, because the constellation of Orion has been reaching out to me in my subconscious and in many other ways. On the last show, I told you that I was using the star system Sirius to communicate through the Monosaurus constellation, which is a unicorn, into Betelgeuse, which is in the shoulder of Orion. So interestingly, like I posted about that on Instagram, and a lot of times I'll do that. Like I'll post about something, and then spirit will unravel what I'm doing, what my spirit is doing ahead of time. And Bobby Hemmett, he used to do a lot of that as well.
Mm-hmm.
They even told me to decipher like the double letters um, in his name.
Mm.
So, uh, he has the double B,
Mm-hmm.
he has the double M, and he has the double T. So they told me that signified before my time.
Mm.
So that's why he was always saying, I'm going ahead of myself. In all his videos, he's like, I'm going ahead of myself. Why? Because his spirit was ahead of what was happening and he needed to catch up to his spirit. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's sometimes how like I feel myself, I'm putting stuff out. A lot of times it doesn't make sense in the moment, but the spirit will surely clarify what I'm doing as I'm moving along. Why? Because I'm trusting, I'm moving in faith, I'm uh, emptying myself to a 0 point of saying, I don't need to know all of this right now.
Mm.
It's all going to make sense in time. And it always does, Shakesha. It's a beautiful thing. And that honestly is what keeps me motivated and going and making me roar like the quantum line.
Word.
I have to play my part. I have to play my position, whether people know who I am or not. It does not matter.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm gonna tell you something. This is such a powerful time because spirit has definitely been showing for me, that this whole process is all about showing that dedication, making sure we're doing the right things for the right reasons, and really see for when you get called to do things, your responsibility is greater.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, I was having fun, having a good time, just enjoying myself. And this was just something that I did for fun, but there was so much that I learned that I could get out of this. And Aquarius Moon got me hip to the tarot, where I started really deciding to dive into it because it was nothing I was really interested in. I didn't really understand it. And as I started studying, I started recognizing the profound wisdom of
Mm-hmm.
the tarot system. And as I started getting there, I went and dove deep into that. And the astrology started speaking to me as well. It always did. But I'm able to make these connections to astrology, to tarot, and spirit gives me so many revelations on how this shows up in our lives. And if we're really sensitive and we really pay attention, we can get some true accelerated growth within ourselves so that we can really show up in bigger and better ways out here when we're working with people. Because see, a little bit, and what is this in December the 20th, Jupiter's gonna be at that 0 point. So we're gonna have a lot of people that are looking for answers.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have a lot of people that have a lot of conditioned thought patterns that they're going to have to move past in order to really be open to get the information that's available for them so that they can ascend.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to be in a space where we're at peace within ourselves, because I'm out here in these spiritual streets navigating wheels, all insecure, you know what I'm saying? And fighting my own demons. And so this has really been helping me to be a lot more reflective and a lot and in a space where I can trust myself a lot more. And as I start really beginning to share this information and getting in a cipher with other individuals that's doing this work like I am, it helps me to build not only my confidence, but it also helps me to gain greater understanding as well. So I think that this whole thing is a powerful tool. So today, talking about this tower, let me just go in my book real quick, because I'm gonna tell you this tower thing I like the way that this book, it gives these explanations, and it's everything. It says the tower usually depicts a fortress-like structure similar to those remaining from medieval times in parts of Europe, being destroyed by fire or lightning. In some decks, including the Rider-Waite Smith, the tower's crown is being blasted off by a fiery impact. The blast catapults human figures out of the window like the death card and the devil. The tower tends to engender fear when it comes up in a reading. However, the tower does not necessarily represent ruin and devastation, although its appearance usually does herald swift and dramatic change, and sometimes it's shocking and extremely upsetting. And most people interpret the tower as signifying a catastrophe. But whatever disruption or destruction it heralds is ultimately for the best at the end of the day. At the end of the day. So here's my thing. I wanted to check real quick before we really start diving into that and see if anybody has any downloads, any channels, anything from spirit that may be helpful right now, or if you want to share it later, that's cool too. But you know what I'm saying? I always want to make sure that I'm giving place to that, so that as we start diving deep into this conversation, time runs out and we never get an opportunity to hear what spirit has for each of you.
Yeah. You want to go first, Aquarius?
Sure, thank you. So what I have been getting is for us to really be aware of our surroundings, what's going on. For those of us who are in the spiritual fight, we need to, I guess, what we're doing is spread the information. It's not, I guess we need to spread the information, but for me, what I've been working on is, it comes to me that I need to work on not be holding on to, I don't know how to quite describe it, but I talked to you earlier this week about it, about holding on to resentment, I guess, for people who are not ready to hear. You know, like you explained it to me well, like going down a fifth grader going down to the kindergarten. You know what I'm saying? Beating up the kindergartners. And that's not what I'm about. You know, when I want to give them the information, I want to give it to them in love. And I don't want to hold on to any anger, because it's like, you know, you could be so much better. But you know, but who am I to say what their better is? You know what I mean? Right. So I have to separate my ego and my want for everybody, you know what I'm saying, to be on the same page and to elevate, to also let people have their own will and do as they please. Word. So that's my struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. What I've realized with that, Aquarius, is that a lot of times we're mad because we see the dark aspects of our soul that we already cycled through in other people, and you want to bring them out of that so bad that when they're stuck in that cycle, it makes you frustrated. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But we're all here. That's where the compassion really has to grow. That's where the heart has to overflow, because in that moment you have to realize, shit, I was just where you are, right? Like, no matter how stubborn you're being right now, like, I've been there, and I was probably a worse asshole than you. You know what I mean? So that's where I feel like in those moments, when we can grow in a space of compassion and like really think outside the box, right? Like, that's the 0 point. That's when everything is timeless, limitless. That's when you really can expand yourself to get outside of your feelings.
Right.
I know people talk about feelings a lot, and I tend to think that I kind of shut off from feeling a lot. And I don't know what y'all think about that, but for me, it kind of helps me to be in a 0 point all the time. It's almost like I'm just observing stuff, and yeah, there's sometimes where I can go into like a realm of being frustrated, like so much that it'll come out of me, you know, like this whole different person will just rise up, or an aspect of me, I should say, not a different person. and then I feel shitty. I feel like I could
Right.
have done that differently. But at the same time, speaking of the last podcast, the devil, it's a teacher. You know, we're there to learn from those aspects of ourselves. I would say for me, Shakesha, the channels that have been coming through, I said, have been with Orion. And even when I wake up in the morning before I go to work, I map out the stars usually if I have an extra like 5 minutes, you know. I'll just sit there and stare at the stars and the moon. This morning is that big old, you know, bright moon, and the stars were like nice and clear. Um, I always recognize Orion because it's so simple to me. You know, you see the belt and then you see the arms and everything. And so what I'm trying to do now is like locate other constellations around it and try to get my subconscious to like automatically know what it is, even though I'm far from it right now, you know, but I know I'll get there. Um, when I posted about talking from the star system Sirius to Orion, I didn't know as I'm reading this today, which happened to be page 365. Okay. So, well, I don't want to drift off of things, but there's a whole lot of, when I get channels, it's like different aspects of things connect all at one time. I even see how different gods connect, like in one moment. They'll show me that they're the same person.
Yep.
Right.
So remember I was telling you about Enoch on the last podcast. Well, Enoch lived 365 years. So how is it that I open today at page 365 and I'm thinking of Orion and my eyes go straight to Orion on the page? And then in the storyline, it's telling me that Orion goes around the constellations with his dog Sirius. And now what I have to uncover next is Artemis, the goddess Artemis, because that's what they're leading me to. They're leading me to find out what Artemis means in this cycle right now that we're going into. And for some reason, what jumps out without me studying anything is art.
Creation.
Right? Because that's at the beginning of her name. And it's creation, it's art in the forms of music, of like unlocking this whole thing through the muse, through, you know, through a different form of partying.
Okay.
Like where we're literally dancing in the spirit. You get what I'm saying? We've been so shackled up with bullshit and all these things that have been put on us. And I feel like that tower crumbling would signify that. It's almost like when in the Bible it says that revival would just hit, you know? That's what I'm seeing in my head coming out, is like this tower collapse and then a revival of people's spirit, like you're just free. So it's crazy. It's crazy. And a lot of it I'm saying right now, and that's how the spirit, like that's how I work, is like I'll just allow the spirit to just say what it's got to say. But that's what I'm feeling right now.
Right.
Something to do with Artemis. And like I said, at a certain point in the last podcast, I was saying that I felt that Sirius and Orion had like a beef for some time. Like there was something going on there. But now that I'm really thinking about this, I'm thinking of Orion and Sirius as its dog, right? So then I go into the Mayan thing. And I think of Quetzalcoatl. And Quetzalcoatl has who is called his twin, but it's a dog. And the dog is called Zalato. And he takes this Zalato is his dark aspect. So it's the dark side of him. So it's the same story that we all know.
Right.
But he has to travel with this dark aspect into the underworld.
Right.
Once he gets to the underworld, he finds the bones of an old generation.
Mm.
What he does is he puts his blood. Oh my God, spirit's coming through right now. Because we're talking about the blood moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he puts his blood on these bones and creates a new generation of people.
Mm.
So what that means to me is a new cycle, a new generation of beings. So this is something I haven't shared, right? But even before all this stuff was happening with the Hebrew thing with Kanye and all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading about Enoch, the Ethiopian who's a Hebrew.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in my head, I'm processing, put these tribes together. Look, I have my whole thing going on right here with the feathers, got the stones going. I'm just channeling whatever spirit is giving me to do, and I do it. So I'm at work and I smack my finger, and I have enough in this cut or this blister that happened that when I got home, I wrote out what I wanted to see for the next cycles. And I was squeezing, and I had enough to drop 3 droplets of blood. And when I looked at that paper, I was like, oh shit, that's Orion's belt. Like
Mm.
it was literally exactly like Orion's belt, like the shape everywhere, like everything. So here we have blood,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know this moon was called the blood moon.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
so then I see everybody that's a teacher is teaching something to do with blood. So the spirit is relaying and putting things in my subconscious so I can bring it out in some form of art, um witchcraft, however you want to call it, um and really activate the portals that need to be activated in order for these energies to come through so we can all experience them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow.
That shit's so on point. I just
Yeah,
I'm sorry, did you have something to say?
yeah, I was agreeing with you, but as far as I wanted to touch on a couple of things that I heard my brother say. So when he was saying that the feelings and the disconnectedness,
Mm.
um, I feel like that's where I strive to be, and I think it's a good place for everyone to be, because
Mm,
people who act out of emotion are not always, what I'm saying, in the best frame of mind to make decisions.
Right.
So therefore we have to understand that yes, we have emotions and we can feel those emotions, but those emotions do not have to drive your actions. You have to sit back and weigh those feelings, and sometimes those feelings ain't even yours. So you have to know what are yours, what's not. And it's okay to feel them, but you do have to let them go as well. Like I said, well, I picture it as energy and motion, so they come and go,
I,
all emotions.
Emotion. But listen, I'm gonna tell you something that's so on point, because it seemed like for me, that energy of the eclipse, it intensified, intensified like times 10. And it was almost as if I could pick up all of the despair that was around. And I started feeling so melancholy,
mm,
so depressed. I don't know what the hell that was, so discouraged. And I
mm,
just like got into this space where I started feeling like my life had no meaning. Everything was a waste of time.
mm,
What in the hell am I doing? And I just felt like I don't know. I just felt so discouraged. And I got up and I came upstairs and I connected with spirit just to find out like what in the hell was going
mm,
on with me. And from what spirit was letting me know is, number one, I got to really well, there's some work that I got to do internally so that I can really begin to step into my powers. And at this particular time, it seems as if it's getting more and more intense, more and more heightened. And I think on an emotional level, because I have a lot of Cancer placement in my chart, and Cancer and in water signs, period,
Great
are
mom.
connected to those, yes, really connected to those emotional energies. And so I get so wallowed up in emotions. But what I have to realize is what this energy is right here. The way that we got, because we got, not only did we have this eclipse energy that went down, but we also had this Mars retrograde that was going on. And the eclipse was a Taurus moon, you know, and my Mars is in Taurus, and so is my South Node. And so I was just in that particular space. But with my sensitivity just being so heightened like that, it kind of swallowed me up, but it kind of reset me.
Mm-hmm.
Put me in this place where now, even though I'm heightened and I'm sensitive to it, it's like now I have a little bit, Spirit gave me some better tools to kind of make sure that I am shielding my energy so that I'm not absorbing all of the energies that's around me. You know what I'm saying? And so the fox came through for me, which talked about shape shifting.
Okay.
The fox shows up. The fox comes through to tell you you need to really trust your intuition and intelligence. And the fox will tap into that energy. It's all about you not acting, but really being a lot more observant. I was on Miss Blue's show on the remix, and
I heard you giving readings. That was dope.
Hey, well, listen, I'm gonna tell you something. You know what? I learned a powerful lesson about preparing. However, what I did notice was where Spirit was trying to tell me that I need to really start being a lot more confident, because I'm not so comfortable with giving people bad news, you know? And what I've noticed is that now I can look at these charts and I can kind of pick up energetically, even if I can't right now particularly read like what that means on the chart, energetically what that means. But what I'm seeing more and more on these charts is that we are about to learn a powerful lesson on just how folks get down in these streets collectively. And I don't know if this is going to be like, you know, at first I thought, well, the elections is coming, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I'm starting to see that, and this is where all of that whole melancholy, despair energy was coming from. Because I started seeing a lot of people like really confronting a lot of darkness that's within their relationships on multi dimensions, right?
Yes.
About the finances, we talking about romantic relationships, interpersonal relationships, working relationships. And this is a time right now, I think we need to embrace it, but a lot of folks is going to get their feelings hurt out here.
Right.
Learn the truth on how tainted folk get down, some of us. You know what I'm saying? And with Mars being in retrograde, we already in Scorpio. So Scorpio is all about us revealing and everything. And Mars is all about like what drives you, what's your passion, where's your desires at and everything, right? Then we got this Jupiter that's in retrograde in Pisces, and which is all about Jupiter and Neptune, all about illusion, us being on some other shit in la la land over here. When the tower shows up, most of the time, we already know what the hell time it is. We know deep down, we know. But these are things that we ignore. And so when the tower shows up, this gives us an opportunity to clean house.
Yes. Yes. The reset. Yes. So it's crazy to you should say that exactly because you just called out my whole week. So it's like it's been a tower after a tower after a tower. But the thing about it is, it's like, yes, it's finally over. You know what I'm saying? We can cut out the charade. You know what I'm saying? We can move forward and do what we need to do to get to these heights that we're trying to get to that we know we can reach. You know, to shed off all that negative energy and people who holding you down and, all that other stuff. And you get to reinvent who you are.
Mm.
And also earlier when Quantum Lion was talking about the dancing and rejoicing, I've been having that feeling too, but I've been having that feeling for some years. But I noticed that it's way more intense now because
Mm.
before, like, okay, they're waking up, they're getting a little more knowledge out here. You know what I'm saying? The spirit's moving a little bit more out here. But it's like in these days, in this day and time right now, with everybody I'm seeing putting the information out there and more people understanding what's going on, is I just feel the rejoicing energy. And it's like you're watching the tower come down, but you're excited about watching this tower come down. You
Yeah.
know? So definitely.
Yeah. My energy is kind of fixed. So for me, tower moments are difficult for me to navigate.
Mm.
When upheaval, even and to give an example, I'll go back to
That's
when
that Leo.
yeah, that's that Leo, that fixed fire, man. And when I was working, like I had worked with the company that I was with for 10 years. And
Mm.
I had invested a lot of energy. I wrote a lot of the programs there and everything. And I just really saw myself like being there until I retired. And so I had a lot of energy invested in a lot of the programs and the treatment modalities and the whole system of what we were doing. I invested a lot in that. And so things were really going well and I was being promoted and things were really happening. And then all of a sudden we got a change of executive, and it was cool if because I knew my shit, I had it together and everything. And gradually I started noticing there was more resistance. And then I would get a call from the jail people and they said, we gonna shut down your grant for the jail programs because nobody did it. And I didn't know how to do that. And so I figured it out and got it through. But then I couldn't get money. I couldn't get the people that was in the fiscal department to work with me. It was like I was getting one obstacle, one challenge. It was overwhelming me. My supervisors was quitting. I had damn near 30 fucking programs and 12 supervisors. You
Oh
know
shit.
what I'm saying? I was getting my ass whooped and I did not see the bigger picture. And so they call this meeting and they say, well, you know what I'm saying? So with all of the resistance that I was getting, then, you know what I'm saying? Just more and more shit was just happening, was unraveling. And they call this meeting and say, we're mandating everybody get this coronavirus injection. You must be vaccinated in order to keep the job. And
Mm.
that just dysregulated me because I knew
Mm.
I didn't want that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I
It's
was
great. It's
considering
crazy
whether or
because
not to do it.
when all that started happening, I went in on my meditation. I said that shit is not happening to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, but that whole industry, avoided that. It was only like if you wanted to take it, you know what I mean? And
Right.
now, like, I get paid to take a PCR test, which is just like a swab, you know what I mean? But I've never gotten an injection. And I just went ham, in my meditation. Like, this is not either you guys are taking me out of this shit for a reason or I'm here for a purpose.
Right.
Uh, and it worked, you know, in a way where I had to stay there. Now, funny you said about the fox because today I was thinking about that because it's the first time that I've worked on that lot, and today was my first day at this new job, and it's on the fox lot.
Mm-hmm.
That.
Um,
Wow.
and then if we're thinking about in constellation wise, I'm thinking about the star system Sirius because the book that was written about them by that French man, the first one ever was it was called The Pale White Fox.
Mm.
And the way that they channel information is actually through a fox. They'll put like a little thing on the ground, and basically the guy that will channel what's happening they'll leave like certain things like on this print that they'll put on the sand, and whatever the fox leaves as far as its footprints, they'll come and they'll interpret that, and they'll be prophetic about what's about to happen to all their tribe. So it's funny. Also, I wanted to ask you why you called this the Sirius Cipher. Like, what is your connection with Sirius? Because I've had crazy experiences with Sirius. One, I was inside the star system. One time I saw, this was like a vivid moment, which I don't have many of those. I usually am in a blank state and don't see anything, don't hear. But in this moment, I saw everything like very vividly. I was inside of a star, and I could see layers of myself being other people.
Sirius,
so
the star of the masters, the star of the masters. Really take a dive into that, because that was something that Spirit gave me, because everybody that was called to show up at the cipher is connected to the star Sirius. And so, yeah.
So, well, one day I'm shaving my hair. I'm shaving my hair like this, and I look down in the sink, and the Dogon symbol is in my hair.
How about that?
And I mean, I'm like, my spirit right away said, take a picture of it, but I didn't know what it was. I had just got in the book, The Pale White Fox.
Right.
And the next day I'm reading it at work, and I see the symbol, and I'm looking at the picture that I took, and I'm looking at the symbol, and I'm like, it's the fucking exact symbol. And on another time too, I'm meditating, and I had drawn out like or I had written out like what I wanted to see for that cycle. And I drew like I think it was like 5 or 6 points on the paper in red. And I'm about to walk away, and my spirit said, connect the dots. So I started connecting the dots, and it's a star. And then immediately after that, my spirit said, reach for the book, the Dogon book. I reach for it, and I open it without like flipping through pages. I just open it to one page, and it's the exact star that I had just drawn on this paper. So I'm like mind blown when it comes to these connections. But my frustration and my speech with the entities that are moving or giving me this information is, give me more, or like help me decipher this more so I could give it to them. But what comes across to me is like, it's not time.
It's really not. And see, this was where I was trying to get to when I was talking about this whole existential crisis that I went through when I had to walk away from the job, even though it ended up working out that, I needed to let it go. It was very difficult for me because I was so material driven. It was a huge tower moment for me. And it was also an opportunity for me to dive a little bit deeper into who I really am as an individual and as a person, as a spiritual being. Because just like you asked me what this cipher was about, there's a lot of things that I just don't tell people because I'm so afraid of being rejected that I won't be received. You know what I'm saying? I keep so much shit to myself, and I try to stagger my words and think about, and how you can tell I measure myself because I start going into, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I measure myself, or I take these deep breaths because I'll get impressions, I'll get feelings, I'll get visions, and I won't share them because my experience has been I upset people when I do that.
Who gives a shit?
Can I
Hey,
say
look.
something about
Right
that
now,
verification?
power moment. And this
Look.
is how a whole lot of upheaval and things that I thought was the absolute worst thing, because my career was important to me. Material possession and how I was perceived, my title. You know what I'm saying? People know that I did that. I got this certificate and degree and credential. All of that shit that was so important to me, today it no longer is. That's some tower moment shit for that to be snatched the fuck from up under you. And then you shift off into something different. And so many times we do that, even in our relationships. And so where Spirit was showing me with this Sirius cipher is that we got all of these cats here. We channel, we connect with Spirit. We are highly in tune beings on this planet. But one of the challenges that we have is being able to take all of this information and all of this knowledge and be able to translate it into, how do I get victory in life? Me and Aquarius Moon was just talking last night because we both came from up under the Christian umbrella. And there's so many individuals, even myself included, in the church, living in abject poverty, squalid conditions. And we know that that's not all of the story. That's not the end all and be all. But we get comforted in a system that we know, that we get used to, but we can't really get any real tangible victory out of the systems that we're working with. And this right here is an opportunity for us to not only see what's happening in this real world, because we go take all of this shit and bring it to earth. All of this knowledge and all of this stuff that we got, all of these channels, how can we assist people? How can we add value into people's life? Because don't nobody really give a fuck about me reading Ancient Future by Dr. Wayne Chandler. Nobody, you know what I'm saying? Nobody gives a fuck about that, because
I was just thinking of Wayne Chandler today.
Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm reading that book right now. No one cares. Well, like, how the fuck does that help me navigate my life? You know what I'm saying?
Here's what I'll say, Shakesha, because that's the and that's something that we have to keep confronting, this illusion of separation. Right? Because I go through it myself, you know, and I consider myself a strong being, but yeah, I go through it myself. So this is like, we go through moments, like I said, like all my channels, I'm going through things. And lately, I know, well, you've probably noticed, but even though I've even returned to going on Instagram, I really haven't posted much. And even my last post, it just said blood is calling. And I just put a bunch of pictures, because my spirit is saying, now allow them to decipher it, because you're breaking it down so much that people don't even want to read it, because this is a microwave age. And then you get frustrated because you're putting so much time into it.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of like, now this is us letting go of the control, having so much control over things, and just saying, I'm gonna just do what I'm being told, but I'm not gonna overexert and like do so much where then I feel depleted, where I'm giving so much of myself that then I feel fucking alone, or I feel, you get what I'm saying? So we have to start being like smart about how we're giving these tools away, and really have cycles where you're revamping that energy, because that is totally necessary. And I feel like some of our teachers are at a fault with that. All they do is constantly give out information. I don't ever see them taking a break. So I don't know how that works out, because in every cycle that I know of, there's always ebbs and flows, and there's times to have a break.
Yeah.
Because if not, then you get
to do their own thing. And I'm not really here to try to speak to, you know, how somebody else is getting down, because that ain't my business. You know what I'm saying?
But I feel that that's a way where we can get into a spiritual ego.
Yes, absolutely.
You know? So I'm just mentioning that, not that like I'm not trying to put none, because it takes balls to be doing all this work, right? But at the same time, I'm being a messenger in this moment and saying like, yo, I see how spiritual you are, but can you stay off of Instagram for a month or two? Can
Bada
you?
bing, right? Bada bing. And see, here's the other thing too. And I'm glad you said that about Instagram, because 9 times out of 10, I don't see too many people's posts. I'm not really on there like that. I get on there, I put my shit down, and I'll scroll down and see about 5 people's posts. And you know what I'm saying? Check that out. And usually yours comes up because you're one of the people whose posts I'm actually taking a look at. You know what I'm saying? There's a handful of people, because I'm not interested in foolishness. You know what I'm saying? I'm really not. And sometimes I want to be entertained, you know, but for the most part, I really want to understand how we can heal our relationships with ourselves and with each other. And when this Tower card came up, because I got to get back to that, the other thing that really hurt my feel, that was really wounding me, is that I was seeing so many people in relationships that were being confronted with shit they already knew.
Mm.
And
They already knew, but it's like that
how do
moment
you say that to
serve.
somebody? You know what I'm saying? How do you say that to somebody? You know,
so I'll say this in case. I'll say this. Just talk to their spirit. Bypass speaking to them. Because what I've learned is that in this realm, as much as I try to talk to you, I could see how people will not take my message a certain, or they'll take it a certain way. But when I go into meditation, I'm like, bypass that bullshit that I saw, or how I see the reaction of their countenance. I'm speaking directly to them, to their spirit. Like, fuck the bullshit, because in this plane that we're in, that ego is fucking, everything's being ego driven, even spirituality at to a certain degree.
Absolutely.
So we have to have these moments where we bypass this plane, go to the higher plane, deliver the message, and then watch it happen in real life.
Right. Because, you know, there's a lot of spiritual teachers that have experienced tower moments. Yeah. Because regardless of whatever their situation was, whether they get exposed for whatever in the fuck shit they into, you know, or if, you know, some other shit that goes down. There was another brother, I'm gonna tell you, fuck his name, Rashad.
Oh yeah, Rashad Jamal.
Yes. It was a powerful. See, I wasn't really hip, right? And so some said, go investigate what this brother's talking about. And this brother was bringing some real truth bombs.
Yeah.
Speaking a lot of truth to power. And suddenly he found himself in a tower moment where he was apprehended by the police for some shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that he got accused of by his ex or something like that.
Something like that. And
touching the kids or something.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm feeling about that. You know what I'm saying? I really don't, because it don't sit right. And so I don't know for sure if it's a setup. Maybe he did it. I don't know. But for me, it's not sitting right.
I mean, a lot of them, they're trying to take out the leaders, you know what I mean? So we have to be very aware of that.
Absolutely.
Another thing too is, hey, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Take what he said, you know what I mean, and what resonated with you, and fuck the rest, because at the end of the day, we're all one. So
listen, I'm gonna tell you, that's a powerful brother, and I think they pulled him the hell up out of here.
Oh yeah,
keep his fucking mouth shut.
I do too. I followed him for some years.
Did you?
Yes, I've watched it.
Was that you who got me up to him?
I believe so. I've sent you things.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So he's spoken about this situation many times. And he just basically said that fuck them. They're gonna have to catch me.
Right.
And as he was saying that, you know, his baby mama's bitter. Yeah. And you know, she's just doing bitter baby mama shit.
Oh, that's yeah. Well, see, I didn't know the details. I just knew whatever the fuck this was, it just didn't sit right for me. And listen, and like Alex Jones, And he used to have that InfoWars channel. Now, I don't know if y'all know, but this is the dude who went down to Bohemian Grove and exposed a lot of high level officials.
Yes.
And different other dignitaries within there and how they get out there and they do all these weird ass rituals. They thought because he looks like one of them, that he was one of them. And he went out there and exposed them. See, they've been waiting to get this dude for quite some time because he blew that shit out years ago. But now they're making him pay over $1 billion. They completely bankrupted him for saying that he thought one of the school shootings was fake or some shit like that. They came after Minister Louis Farrakhan for putting out the secret relationship between Blacks and Jews. And if y'all don't know, see, like I said, this ain't new news to a lot of us. Ask somebody out here in these streets. And this is why the goddess Queen Sheba came through. For me, well, not only, am I connected to her? This is one of my energies. Came through to give me this story about, and I didn't even make the fucking connection. And then I started seeing all of this stuff coming down the pike about how she was converted to Judaism, even though it wasn't really important to her like that. But she was converted because it was a good system and there's a lot of wisdom in it. And so she took that to her people, her kingdom, Ethiopia. You know what I'm saying?
There we go.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of truth and a lot of history, but it goes further back because Moses was married to a Black woman. Moses' mama was Black. So we got, right. So I mean, there's a rabbit hole down here that somebody don't want us to go through. Brother Dante, do you got something to share on this tower moment? I'm sorry, we just rambling and I don't want to make sure that I just keep it moving. But you jump in and you get in whenever you can. I see you still on mute. I can't unmute you, unfortunately. And and I know this is, Aquarius Moon had a mute issue earlier, but that was not televised. So but I'm here to tell y'all that these real live tower moments that we seeing, all I'm gonna say is watch and see. We got a lot to learn.
I'll say this too, like when I was in Christian church, like the first sermon, I remember the pastor had challenged us to like write a sermon. The first sermon I ever wrote was called The Kingdom of Babylon, but it was talking about people that just babble on. And now I'm hearing, like recently I've heard a few teachings and I've heard some of our teachers actually refer to it as the kingdom of Babylon. Like you just talking too much. And it's crazy because I wrote that when I was maybe like 17 years old. And I remember what I had used was the scripture of when they saw Jesus transfigure on the mount, when he turned into like a celestial being before their eyes, they immediately were like, should we build you an altar? Should we do this? Should we do that? And the Spirit came through and said, shut up. And it said, shut up. So basically in that time, what I was getting was sometimes we're in the presence of something special happening around us and we're just so busy talking. We're so busy doing everything in the world except stopping and being silent and being at that 0 point. So it's very important that we learn in those moments, we don't have to keep babbling on. We have to have moments of quietness where we can hear the whispers of God in whatever form of energy that is. Absolutely. It's and speaking of that, then we're speaking of Babylon, then you're thinking about the Tower of Babylon. So do you know of anything that's connected? Because I think it is connected, right? That tarot card with Babylon somehow, like with that tower.
Let me pull your coat to this right here because I know everybody was around September 11th time, right?
Right.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay. So on the Tower card, especially in the Rider-Waite-Smith on the tarot card, it has it depicts literally what the whole thing of 9/11 played out to be. See, and this shows you how, connected we are spiritually. We have absolutely no idea where spirit is going with this, and then it shows itself up later. The developer of the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot don't put this down, many moons before this shit goes down, right?
Mhm.
It says the tower's graphic imagery played out in our own lives during 9/11, the attacks on the World Trade Center. That physical event depicts literally what happens on the frightening card, something that the tarot artist could not have imagined. The tower often represents the collapse of social order, an established system, and the Twin Towers of New York were symbols of established wealth and power. And in an instant, the attack changed the way that Americans thought about their position in the world.
Exactly.
Babylon falling.
And then the thing I see in that card is that lightning strike. Because remember how many lightning strikes they've had this year, and how it hit the Vatican? It killed people in front of the White House. Like that lightning strike has come through in a major way, and that's part of my energy with Kawak, who's this dude I'm leaning on right here.
Okay. Okay.
So that lightning strike, he is the god of lightning, who I just leaned on. He died on my birthday. So remember, I don't know if you recall, but when I figured all this out, when that spirit came to me, I asked, if you're with me, make it rain. And the next day it rained. Now, I've been channeling him again recently during these last few days, and I didn't ask for it to rain, but it rained. It rained yesterday, and it rained the day before that. Like, it didn't stop raining for 2 days. So these are very collective days on the 7th and 8th. And then I'm thinking about tomorrow, because tomorrow is 11/11/22.
Yep, it is.
So
That's a powerful manifestation portal, right?
Man, listen, I got so much stuff happening tomorrow that I'm so excited about. You don't even understand. I am excited.
Hey, let me pull y'all's call to another day that y'all need to pay attention to. This was something that Spirit gave to me. 11/22. Right? This is holding a lot of 2 energy.
Oh yeah.
And
I got a lot going on that day too that we'll talk about later. And it's
absolutely. And this is another portal right here. This is going to be an opportunity for us to get it right with our relationships and our connections and our emotional well-being. See, this is that energy that's going to not only, maybe we get these tower moments where we see just how tainted folks get down, right? But this is also going to give us an opportunity to clear the space so that we can have room for relationships that are authentic and solid for us, instead of wasting our time with some whistlehead motherfuckers that didn't give a fuck at the end of the day. Exactly. So we really, you know what I'm saying, should be taking advantage of this opportunity. But listen, let me close this cipher out. I've got the card pulled for next week. I got the judgment card. The judgment card.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's get it, y'all. Let's get it. The judgment card.
Because if those 3 cards didn't align, the devil, the tower, and the judgment card. Come on.
Yes.
So here we go, y'all. And it's on and it's cracking and everything. But listen, these tower moments is some real business right here. And nobody experiences tower moments like me, because I'm all in my feelings and shit like that. And Spirit has really been working with me to kind of find the balance with that, because that's one of the things that's certainly not serving me, is sitting around being wounded and going through a whole bunch of changes and withdrawing from the world. I mean, there's no victory in that type of shit. You know?
Look, I got a message for you.
Okay.
Keep applying pressure.
Yes.
Keep applying pressure straight up, because I know earlier you said how do I tell people what I'm feeling? How do I this? How do I that? I told you you can go to a higher plane and say these things, but keep applying pressure.
Yeah.
Because the moment you let off, then you feel shitty because you know that you have that Aquarius jug on your shoulder already. You already took that water, so now you're feeling the burden of it because you're going around, you're not really giving out what you already have on your shoulder. So give some of it away so it's not so burdensome.
And you know what? Wait, bro.
Was that Dante or what?
With Brother Dante, he opened it up and everybody enjoying themselves.
Hey, pass that shit.
But yeah, you're
man.
right about that. And see, and that, like I said, spirit has been dealing with me. I have been it has been, I have been going through some changes, but spirit's like, oh, you go get this. You go get this shit. And so that whole thing where you were saying about sharing the burden and everything. See, I'm so used to being that person that just holds that responsibility down. I don't think asking for help is difficult for me.
That's that Leo.
It is that Leo. And then like I said, and then I got a lot of dark my Saturn is in Cancer. So then I think at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? Niggas don't give a fuck about this girl right here. You know what I'm saying? And so then I just feel like there's not enough love. I'm not going to ask anybody to do a goddamn thing for me because they, you know what I'm saying? They may or may not care. And I don't want to know. So because it'll hurt me.
But see those are the emotions that are coming up for us to like really dig deep. What is that, right? Because I'll tell you this, my mom dropped me off at my grandmother's house when I was very young. Like I want to say I was like 6. My dad lived across the way in the same apartments, but he'll never come and see me. So talking about years later, my mom comes and picks me up and I'm like, this apartment building is my world now. Like, how are you I'm so intuitive at that point that she's not telling me, but I'm like, I go off on her. I'm a young kid, but I'm like, how can you take me from everybody I love? Like all this shit, right? She gets in her own emotions where I'm a little kid. She puts both her hands on her eyes and she's bawling, crying on the 405, going at a good speed, letting go of the wheel, not caring if we both die at this moment. And here I am in this moment having to steer the car, me being a kid trying to steer the car so we don't go off the fucking freeway. But that, my spirit took me back to that moment and said, that was the moment you shut down. That was the moment you start speaking your truth. Because at that moment, your survival depended on it. So I took that into everything that I did afterwards. I just became very quiet. It still served its purpose because I was able to be more of an observer and be in a different form of thinking. You get what I'm saying? But in that moment, like, it was life or death. If I don't grab the steering wheel and stop talking shit to my mom, like, we're gonna die. So afterwards, it created a lot of things in me. Like, if I had to take a piss, I wouldn't tell nobody for 2 hours. I'll hold my piss. You get what I'm saying? Because I didn't want to bother nobody.
Absolutely.
So I live that way, but I'm telling you this story because I see some of that in you.
Yes.
Where maybe something like this happened to you, and it has.
We did.
Yeah. And so those types of things, these are the breakthroughs we have to get through. Like this Axel that speaks now and is telling his truth, 2 years ago, that wasn't me.
Right.
Like I was totally shut down.
Right.
But this is really who I am. You get what I'm saying? But
absolutely.
But I had to create that ego part of myself to survive, to be able to be acceptable to other people. Now I'm like, I don't give a fuck if you care for me, if you love me, if you don't, whatever. I know who I am, and I'm growing more and more to learn more of who I am. And as I'm doing that, the tarot is talking to me without me even studying tarot. The stars are talking to me without even knowing the stars necessarily. The gods are talking to me, even though I don't necessarily know every god. New gods will present themselves to me. Why? Because I don't give a fuck. They know that about me. Not that I don't give a fuck, because I give a fuck a lot, but I don't give a fuck when it comes to certain aspects of how people view us.
Right.
Right.
Because it's taking away from our treasure, from our worth. So
Right.
now I'm just adding to myself, and I want that for everybody. You know, that's why I am who I am, and I have so many life stories and different things I feel like I've lived 10 different lives just in this lifetime.
Me and you both. Let me tell you something, because Spirit put on my heart, because like I said, this has been a time, like I'm really kind of like selective with shit that I share. But me and Aquarius Moon, we grew up together. And Aquarius, I know you remember this. I didn't realize how it impacted me. Right. And I was just sitting back, and Spirit just really placed something in my heart. You remember that time my dad and my stepmom got into this argument, and she got mad at me and decided she was coming for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I remember.
I thought she was trying to kill me. And you know what I'm saying? Y'all pulling her the hell up off of me and shit. You know what I'm saying? And she get in the car and zoom the fuck off, and she almost ran me the fuck over and all that crazy ass shit.
Right.
All upset, and I'm traumatized by this whole situation. You know what I'm saying? And my dad, I didn't realize that him, you know what I'm saying? I felt some type of way, like you kept this woman and she tried to kill me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
You kept this hoe.
That's a moment. That's a moment for that ass, for sure.
I buried that shit, and it started translating as if how shit impacts me doesn't really matter. And
it does.
Right, absolutely it does. And it gave me that thing to where I thought at the end of the day, how I felt, nobody really gave a fuck about. And so it just, you know what I'm saying? So many little things that I didn't even realize that that's what it did to my psyche.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's the work right there, man. That's the fucking work.
It is the work, because these are these little stories like that, like, you know what I'm saying? Kian knows that shit, you know what I'm saying? Because she was there, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of that shit, like, I keep to myself and stuff it down, because it was like, oh, it's not really a big deal. And so when you were talking about how you closed your heart off, I did that in a way to where it didn't serve me, because I closed my heart chakra.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too.
And I ain't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? And it made me a cold, mean bitch. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't serve at the end of the day, because even though it is my personality to be a boundaries type of, I don't give a fuck if we got to go to war, if we need to confrontation, I got that for you. You know what I'm saying? However, now it's different, because the impact that I have on people, I'm more concerned not with how I'm being received, but the impact that I'm actually having on people. Because what my intention is that I want you to get right. I want you to ascend. I want you to do better. Not that I want to scare the hell out of you and have you afraid of me. You know what I'm saying? That's not where the intention is. And being more conscious of that moving forward, like, I care about how I'm delivering information to people, how I'm pointing out things to people, because I want you to do better. I want us to get better. You know, now that's what's important to me, instead of it being like, I see your shit a mile away. And that's the thing that kind of puts people off, is because my intuition kicks in. I'm so spot on, but then I'm so fucking laser sharp with my tongue that I'll be like, get the fuck out of here, man. Ain't nobody fucking doing that shit for you, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Or you know what I'm saying? Or what the fuck, you know what I'm saying? You ain't fucking.
You're quick to cut somebody because you don't want to get cut yourself.
Boom, bada bing. And so those were things that I had to work through. And in that process, I went through a lot of compromise, and that wasn't the direction that I wanted to go in either, because then I felt like I was stifling myself and I was shrinking myself down by compromising and not saying shit and going along to get along, because I didn't want the confrontation. You know what I'm saying? I really wanted a harmonious connection. And so now the work is, how do you stay who you are, true to who you are, your authentic self?
Yeah.
Still be able to keep that connection. And then what I realized is that if they can't receive what you got and you're giving it to them in love, mother had them, mother raised them, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I had a question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to know. So when you pulling the cards, what is there specific questions you ask when you pulling these?
Yeah, when I'm pulling these cards, these are the topic subject that Spirit wants us to deal with in the cipher. And so with that, I'm using only the 22 major arcana cards. I was using all of the cards. Spirit told me it's not necessary. Just the major arcana is what I need.
Okay.
Because
okay.
These are giving us an energetic kind of blueprint to just like how we express our energies, the changes that we go through in life, and all of those other things. And so as we pull these cards, typically it's relevant to whatever energy we're about to be experiencing or we're experiencing at that particular time.
I got you. Okay, just curious about that, because I'm like, okay, for sure, right on.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going back on mute. I'm ear hustling.
All good, all good.
Ear hustling.
Ear hustling.
He said, "I'm a window shopper."
I'm respectful of everybody's time, and I know that we kind of over on the cipher. I then tapped out the podcast, and so we all YouTube time. But I
that's all good.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that I'm checking in and respecting everybody's time and everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna close us. And I want to thank you guys so much for coming in here, bringing the truth, bringing the authenticity. Hold up. Let me hit that. Bringing the truth and bringing the authenticity in here, because this is what we need in order for us to heal. Yeah. And it has been my intention each and every time I start with these ciphers is to make sure that these connections that I'm having with people are authentic. That's the only thing that I'm interested in at this point in my life. Now, you know what I'm saying? We can, you know what I'm saying? We can be kind to folks and we can show folks love. But when I'm talking about connecting with folks, that's where my interest is really having true and authentic connections where the energy is reciprocated. And I appreciate that with you guys in this exchange. No question.
Thank you. And it's reciprocated, you know. When I get the book, I put it up here. I put it next to Lakshmi because I want you to be successful. Like those are the types of that's how I think, you know what I mean? Like we're in this together. If we're gonna be like participating and being there, you know, might as well be there full-heartedly, you know, no half-ass. And I don't half-ass much. If not, I ain't doing it.
Right.
If not, I ain't doing it. So we're glad to be here, sis. You know, just keep applying pressure. Like I said, this is pressure that you're applying just by creating a podcast and having people hear different aspects of thoughts, you know, like
absolutely.
Tomorrow I might be at work and replay it and listen to something that I didn't catch. And then that's how it works, you know, and we keep expanding on each other. Iron sharpens iron, that whole thing, you know.
Absolutely, 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 absolutely. That was the entire intention, is to get out there and find those bright stars
Yes,
and
ma'am.
get their assistance in this thing we call ascension. So I
Absolutely.
appreciate you guys so much. I love you. Thank you. Let me close it on out with some, my man. Uh-oh. Peace, y'all.
Peace, peace.
Bounce right here. Niggas be following this. Modeling bitches.